Hey, everybody. This is Justin here, and I'm sitting here with a legend. I don't want to embarrass him, but he is here. He just made a face, but I'll tell you all about it. I'm sitting here with really a legend and somebody that I've gotten to work with on a couple of occasions, and it's a real privilege to introduce, hopefully somebody I can call a friend. I guess we're kind of friends now, right? Yeah. My friend Darryl Jones. And he's probably not going to brag for himself, so I'll start the bragging and let him take it from there. But he's been, how long have you been in the Rolling Stones now? Since
25 years now.
25 years. So he's almost an actual Rolling Stone. he's more than a real Rolling Stone. But his career is about as storied as you can get. So when did you start professionally playing the bass?
I guess by professionally you mean when
was the first time you got paid? Yeah.
Well, it was so little that I got paid that I don't even want to go back that far, but probably around 14 or 15.
14 or 15 years old.
Yeah.
What made you pick up the bass as opposed to, let's say, another instrument?
Actually, I saw a guy play in a talent show, a guy who lived a couple of doors down from me. He eventually became my first teacher. Well, when I saw him play in the talent show, I decided really at that moment, I'm going to be a musician for the rest of my life.
Right. Wow.
And I decided...
And you were how old at that time?
I was 9.
Okay.
And amazing. I decided when I see Angus, Thomas is his name, when I see Angus again, I'm going to ask him to teach me how to play the guitar. Mm-hmm. So I asked him, can you teach me how to play the guitar? And he says, what do you want to learn how to play, the lead guitar or the bass guitar? And I said, what do you play? And he said, I play the bass guitar. And I said, well, then I want to play the bass guitar. To be honest, I didn't know there was a guitar that had 4 strings that was a bass. I thought all guitars had 6 strings. You know?
So had you reconnected to Angus since that time?
Oh, he's like my boy. I mean, I saw him when I was in Warsaw playing with the Stones 2 months ago.
So he realizes the impact he had on your life, obviously.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right, and so obviously you cut him a commission check every... No.
I'm afraid not. But, we've done each other quite a lot of favors.
I'm sure.
Actually, he played with Miles after I left.
Really? Well,
yeah, I think it's covered.
Just nonchalantly mention Miles. So tell me a little bit about that. So you're 9 years old. You fall in love with music. You pick up the bass, and then you play with Miles Davis.
Yeah, just a few months later.
Well, there was that old joke, right? Like a kid sends his a dad sends his son to bass lessons, and the dad says, "What did you learn today?" He says, "Oh, we learned the first string." And so he sends him back to bass lessons the next week and says, "What'd you learn today?" He goes, "Oh, I blew it off. I got a gig."
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
So then you start playing with Miles Davis.
Well, I was playing around town in Chicago with Miles's nephew, Vince Wilburn Jr. And one day, he called me and said, "Hey, man, Miles wants to hear you play over the phone." And I didn't end up playing over the phone, but I did end up auditioning the next day. And
so what was that audition process like?
He's asked me to play along with the board tape, of the gig. It was just like jams, funky jams with guys playing lines over them. Mostly that stuff. And then he asked me to play a B-flat blues real slow.
How slow is real slow?
Well, that's an interesting question because I started and he stopped me and said, I mean real slow.
Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Is your bass sound still up?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you play us what a super slow B-flat blues?
I got into trouble starting it too slow later on when I started playing with him, but...
So what do you think he was...
I don't even know if that was right. I think I just blew that.
So in that request, what do you think he was trying to determine from you at that time?
He was trying to determine if I could deal with that, with the changes, because when you start playing a tune really, really slow, the changes they start to kind of
separate. They give you some space.
They give you a lot of space to make a lot of mistakes, and actually true to to be honest, there was a period there. There's a gig there one night that I started the blues really slow, and got lost in the blues. Yeah.
Wow.
It was
deceptively difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, in a way, particularly for a young player,
How old were you at that time?
I was 21.
Wow. Yeah. So, and how old was Miles at that time?
56, I think.
I mean, this is. So did you just feel like you were jumped in head first into the deep end, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to hold on for dear life here?
Well, yeah, I mean, both that and, realizing that the guys who I grew up playing with, Angus Thomas and, his friends, the guys who I first saw on stage, we all played jams, playing, Miles type stuff. And
Right.
and I played with some vocalists, and I played, some funk. I played a little bit of jazz. So in a way, I had really been well prepared for that gig, and particularly what he was doing at that time.
Now, you're a cool guy, but secretly in your head when you're 21, you're going, "Oh my God, I played with Miles Davis."
Yeah. I mean, who's not? Yeah, no, of course. But at the same, I guess it's interesting, man, because the day that I met him, he was just funny. He was cracking jokes and telling me I looked weird. And so I think he created this atmosphere where it was like, listen, man, this is going to be fun. And actually, one of the things that he did that was, when I hear people talk about how mean he was, one of the things that really sticks out with me is before I played, he said, listen, if this doesn't work out, it doesn't mean you can't play. It just means I'm looking for something else.
So did that put you at ease all of a sudden? Did that sort
Absolutely,
of give you a peace
man, because
of mind?
if you think about it, the guy's taking care of me before I even play a note.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he's cool enough to, to realize the effect that he can have if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have walked away from, you get this kind of thing you walk away from and say, oh man, Miles didn't dig the way I play. I don't think I want to play anymore.
Yeah.
But he was trying to, be sure that, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean you can't play. It just means I'm.
But it's interesting. I have a bit of a philosophy myself. Like many people would look at your situation in that first audition with Miles Davis and think, oh, here comes your life-changing moment. It's like, here comes that life-changing moment. But really, that wasn't. Really, your life-changing moment was when you were 9 years old, if you think about it.
No, that's true.
Right?
Well, both. But yeah.
Professionally speaking, yes, correct. But I'm saying the initial impact of being touched by music,
absolutely,
right?
Man. And to be on to make your point, that day that I saw those guys play when the curtains opened and I saw those guys start playing, it hit me like a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, I was as sure of that at that moment when I was 9 years old as I've been sure of anything else in my life. I mean, I was sure. I was like, that's it.
It was a musical come to Jesus moment.
It was absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely,
it was an epiphany.
Man.
It was a...
Oh, no, completely. It was like that. I mean, and I guess it was the reaction of the crowd, and I was kind of a shy kid. And so all of those things, worked together. And this guy, Angus, many years later, he was teaching in Europe, and he would have students come and say, I want you to teach me how to play like Darryl Jones. And he'd be like, okay, yeah, right. And I would say in interviews, man, that this guy taught me how to play. And he says, man, stop saying that. He says, because the truth is, neither one of us realized it at the time, but you were a bass player long before you picked up an instrument.
I could just picture a 9-year-old Darryl Jones with a big giant bass being like, I can't reach the 12th fret. So I mean, if you wanted to give like a quick 10-second brief history of time between Miles Davis and the Rolling Stones. So you play with, after Miles, you play with
Sting, that band that he put together after he left the Police, Herbie Hancock, Peter Gabriel for a little quick tour, Madonna.
So nobody that big, really.
Few B-level artists.
Yeah. So what's it like playing the baked potato now? Is that like totally depressing? No, you
No,
probably love it.
I dig it. No. What's interesting, man, is that I guess one of the other reasons why I became a musician is because I don't want to do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
So I dig playing, at
Wembley.
Giant Stadium or something like that, and then a few nights later playing some.
Do you ever get
club,
nervous anymore?
You know what is funny? If I've been playing a bunch of stadiums and going to a little club, and the people are that close, it freaks me out.
Really? Isn't that so crazy?
Yeah, it's like the opposite.
So yeah, so
like,
100,000 people, 100,000 people, no problem.
Yeah.
14 people at the baked potato
Yeah, right.
is like you're having an anxiety attack.
It depends on what I've been doing though, but you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah,
we've been playing stadiums, and we played a little club in Amsterdam, famous club. And I looked down, and people were almost as close to me as you are now.
Well,
and it's been 6 months since I played with anybody that close to me. It freaked me out a little bit.
because you're thinking, oh my God, they're judging me, or they're
No,
gonna.
well, I mean, they can see me.
Yeah,
and
right.
I can see them. It's just
yeah.
one of those quick moments where you're like, oh my God, that's a little bit weird.
So obviously you have an absolute ton of experience, but then you join the Rolling Stones. Now, I'm certainly not trying to belittle the experience that you had growing up, because, by the way, playing with Miles Davis one time that goes on somebody's tombstone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right,
it's like that. I mean, that's a real statement for your life. But then you join the arguably the biggest rock band in the history of rock and roll music.
Yeah, there's.
one of the biggest.
Yeah.
The one of the most influential.
Absolutely.
A band like the Rolling Stones is oftentimes said in the same phrase as the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, and then there's the Rolling Stones.
Right.
And you're filling big shoes.
Yeah,
right.
True.
So, what's that experience like, stepping into your first rehearsal with Mick and Keith, and there's Charlie Watts, and here comes, and we're about to play Satisfaction, or something.
Well, man, they again, the auditions because the first time I played with them was at an audition. I auditioned for the Stones. Mick said, listen, man, if you don't know the tunes, we'll teach you the tunes, and then we'll have the audition.
Right.
So again, these two most important auditions that I did, the Miles and the Stones, both of them, the guys, they were totally cool and mellow, and it wasn't. I auditioned for Janet Jackson a week before I auditioned for the Stones. And I was one of the most nervous,
For Janet.
Yeah, which is weird because she was also nervous. She had never, I think at that point, she had never really been involved in putting a band together. Mm-hmm. And so she was nervous, so I was nervous.
Yeah.
Mick wasn't nervous, so I was like, well, he seems pretty mellow. Miles seemed, he's cracking jokes about how I looked, and,
Yeah.
I was chewing gum on the way up in the elevator with Miles, and he looked at me and said, let me have a stick of gum. And I said, it's my last piece, and he said, you mean you came all the way to New York and you only bought one piece of gum? He was cracking jokes the whole way,
That's amazing. What an incredible story. Well, hey, man, listen, we just actually finished, Darryl just finished playing on a song for me for a project I'm doing in China. And this is one of the things that I really love about you, is that true to form in the way that I sense that you are, is you just love music. Yeah. And, and I'm grateful that when I called you, you eagerly came and joined and laid your talents onto this incredible record. And I'm so thankful. So everybody, this is Mr. Darryl Jones, and we'll get his socials over to you guys so you can follow him. But if you don't, you're stupid. But
check out the website.
Yeah. What's your website?
DarrylJones.com.
Spelled?
DarrylJones.com.
And he has these pretty incredible basses that he has made on his own too.
Jones Musical Instruments, and we're getting it off the ground.
Awesome.
Probably early next year we'll be
amazing. Darryl, thank you so much for taking the time.
We're
shaking hands. You can't see it, but we're shaking hands right now.
Yes.
And
looking longingly into each other's eyes.
Yes. I'm a little uncomfortable, but in a good way. Thanks, brother.
All right, man.